Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is the MundaneMatt Show for the 11th of September 2018. Although I should not even have to look at my computer to tell me what day it is. I should not have to have any trouble remembering what day it is. And that's because today is the 17th anniversary of the tragic incident involving two planes, the World Trade Center. And I don't think I need to explain 9/11 to anyone at this point. A lot of remember 9/11 posts that are going around today. A lot of people talking about it, as always. That moment of silence that is always good to have on a day like this, to remember the 2,997 souls that were unfortunately lost in a cowardly terrorist attack. And then we can think about all the fallout from that. The endless war in Afghanistan, going into Iraq for weapons of mass destruction that didn't exist. I mean, a lot of things, a lot of bullshit, guys. But I will say this though: one of the things that I found today to be the most fascinating is a bit of a change in regards to what imagery people are sharing. Oftentimes, it's the towers and the images of the planes going in, or the images of the towers collapsing, and the images of people afterward. But today I've seen a lot of photos, and maybe this is just the first time I've noticed it, but a lot of photos of dogs that are the support animals that were trying to identify people alive and dead, and how they comforted people and how they helped out. And it shows you that doggos are good. The dogs are very helpful in that regard, and those are unsung heroes, in my opinion, because I'm pretty sure that the dogs that were there that day probably got the same kind of sickness to the respiratory system that first responders did. And who knows how many of them survived. You know what I mean? It's a solemn thing to think about when you kind of look at it from that perspective. But just in general, I mean, what they were trained to do, what they were able to do, the fact that they were able to do it and they were successful says a lot about the type of animal a dog is. And while I'm definitely more of a cat person, I can sit there in that moment and go, cat would never be able to do what those dogs do. So they are definitely some unsung heroes that never get the amount of love that they deserve in regards to 9/11. So I'm very happy to see that today. It kind of puts a bit of a different spin, if you will, on just the entire day. Because I've seen everyone talking again, remembering, where were you on 9/11? Like, I was in California. I was asleep. My mom woke me up and she was like, we were attacked, and turned on my TV and, watching the news coverage. And I thought it was an action movie at first. I thought it was a movie. I thought it was fake. And then I spent all day glued to the TV and just waiting for more information and everything else, having conversations with my friends, because we were all 19 at the time, having conversations about whether or not we were going to war. I mean, we ultimately did, but the speculation as to with whom, because there were the images from the Middle East of people cheering. Obviously, that was going to be stoking a lot of the fires that weren't probably the best thing for them to do at that time. And we were wondering about that. We were really wondering, is this where we're going to go? Is this what's going to happen? And I remember having that conversation with my friend Brian, and, just kind of asking ourselves, is this going to be, what's the future going to hold, sort of thing. Ultimately, there wasn't a draft. Nothing like that happened. And, we are where we are right now. And just, that's this kind of like my 9/11 story, which is ultimately nothing. It's just my experience about where I was when that moment happened. And, every year it comes and it goes. And every year, we never forget. And it's been a good thing that an attack like that has not happened again. I'm hoping that one day we'll be able to really crack down on the amount of mass shootings that happen. That'd be good. I think that should be the next goal. But that being said, today is a day for solemn reminders that freedom does have a cost, and freedom sometimes has a very heavy cost. And, be good to your countrymen today, and countrywomen, and country people, and country folk, and country doggos, because I feel that's probably the best course of action. Like, be thankful for what you got. I think that's a big thing on a day like today. I would honestly view that as being more of a thing than like Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? Like, I would like a day like today, would be a day where I'd be like, yeah, no, I'm thankful that, it wasn't, that I'm still here sort of thing. And I'm thankful for what's happened. I'm thankful for my country. I'm thankful for all these things. I don't know. That's how I view it. I always have a weird take on holidays where you're supposed to be one thing. I'm all like, nah, I don't think about that. But anyway, all that aside, I did want to quickly touch upon the situation involving Dr. Disrespect, because this just popped up, and this is absolutely fucking terrible and absolutely scary. And his house was shot at while he was streaming. Here's a little clip here.
Ladies and gentlemen, I got to fucking end I've got to end the broadcast right now. Someone shot at our house, broke the fucking upstairs window. This is the second shot. Someone shot yesterday at our fucking house. And someone shot again right now and connected with the house upstairs, right? You're driving by, right? You fuck.
Yeah, that's absolutely tragic. That is absolutely terrible. And I feel for the guy. I do. I heard that and I'm just like, whoa, what the hell? Like, who the fuck would take a shot at Dr. Disrespect's house? And then the rumor that I've seen for that has everything to do with that he cheated on his wife. And that's not a fucking excuse. There's no fucking excuse for that. The guy made mistakes. Obviously, he's acknowledged he's made mistakes. To take a pot shot at his house is just, it's terrible, man. I believe there's kids there, right? This is when you gotta invest in the home security and whatnot. People are fucking crazy. They're fucking crazy. And that is just, I know I've been swatted. People are fucking crazy. I wish him all the best. I wish that this never happens to anybody. If this is something, you find to be funny, I don't personally. I feel that it's a terrorizing act on a person, whether you agree with his actions or disagree with his actions. Those are his actions. You're not judge, jury, and fucking executioner. And I don't know. I think that's pretty goddamn cowardly. I do. I think that's pretty goddamn cowardly. All right. So this first story today, we have to dive into a world that I don't want to go to dive into a thing that I don't want to fucking go to. And that's the Mary Goddamn Sue, because the Mary Goddamn Sue is talking about Spider-Man's world's saddest Easter egg. Now, they covered this thing, and again, this is all allegations. We have we don't know. We don't know. But this is just kind of where we're getting the other side of the story here. So if you haven't heard of this particular situation, right? There was this picture in Spider-Man of a marquee of a theater saying, "Maddie, will you marry me?" A guy asked Insomniac Games to put it in there. He wanted to use it as a way to, propose to his girlfriend. And didn't work out very well. And it became like, this kind of like sad trombone moment people were talking about. And now we kind of get the other side of the story, where apparently it's a cautionary tale of post-Gamergate. Because what the fuck? Because this is the world we live in now, right? It's been 4 years since GG. And it's like, oh, it's cautionary tale post-Gamergate. Because, well, let's dive in and find out. Insomniac Games' new Spider-Man game included an Easter egg featuring one fan's marriage proposal to his girlfriend. What might have been a romantic tale to tell didn't go as planned and serves as proof positive that we shouldn't rush to report one side of the story. This is coming from the Mary Sue, of all places. I mean, look, I'm gonna be fair. Oftentimes, it is one side of the story that comes out, and the other side never really gets a chance to. Mark Twain once said that a lie can make its way halfway around the world before the truth has a chance to put on its pants. So yeah, but it is good to not rush on some of these things and to wait for things to play out. Unfortunately, in today's clickbaity world, that's tough to do. Anyway, back in May, Tyler Schultz asked the team behind the game to include an Easter egg proposing marriage to his girlfriend. The company responded in a tweet in the newly released game, Spidey encounters a movie theater in downtown New York City where the marquee reads, "Maddie, will you marry me?" It's a sweet gesture in theory and nice of the company to be responsive. Actually, it's a great move for the company to be responsive. That's such a, that's a good thing. I just kind of want to point that out. I like to say good guy Insomniac for doing that. Good job. You guys, that was a good move. You know, a person here is wanting to propose, is wanting to do this. Now we don't know again, there's other elements of this at play, but for the most part, what we're seeing here is a good thing. You know, it's a nice gesture of love, and this world needs more fucking love. It needs more love. Okay. We need to like hug each other more often and be like, you know what? I may not like everything about you, but I don't hate you. You know, we need more positivity. We definitely need more of those things. So that's where I'm at with this right now, guys. But anyway, now Schultz's plans went awry when Gamble broke up with him prior to the game's release. There is a bit more to the situation. Life happens, relationships come and go, and this may have remained a blink and you'll miss it detail in a game that went otherwise unaddressed. But according to Kotaku, the story didn't end there. Schultz uploaded a video to YouTube where he claimed that Gamble broke off their relationship to go out with his brother. Ooh, that's not good. Because I saw that pop up too, and I'm like, ooh, dude, that's pretty, you know, I mean, I have a friend in real life that happened to, so I understand like the pain, right? I get that. And says many headlines have run with the world's saddest Easter egg after Schultz himself referred to it as such, including his claims about Gamble deserting him for his brother. It's unclear why Kotaku in its initial reporting only reported the story from Schultz's perspective, and did not include Gamble's 2-sentence update until later on. Well, I mean, they may not, you know, they may not have had it at the time. I mean, unless he said who she was, like, you're just not going to know, right? Like, I mean, I think that's part of it, but anyway. Kotaku later heard from Gamble, who says the relationship with Schultz's half-brother did not begin until well after the breakup. She also gave her side of the story to the Houston Press. Yeah, because this is like where it's at right now. It's like some guy, like, okay, you know, I mean, this is just how the internet works these days. Now, in the Houston Press, the reporter wrote, "I was immediately suspicious of the story in a post-Gamergate world, assuming that we are post." Oh, Jesus. Jeff Rauner. Okay. Wait, oh no. Anyway, taking any supposedly heartbreaking male gamer at his word over something like this is rather naive. One thing I noticed in coverage of the proposal story was that no one had apparently bothered to talk to Gamble about it, which is true. They did take his word at it, but I mean, you know, I don't think people had a hard time believing it, to be honest with you. Now, while several outlets reported on the failed Easter egg as a sad case of sympathetic to Schultz's report, Rauner reached out to hear Gamble's take on the events, and she explained her relationship with Schultz in detail, including that it began when they were 15, and alleging that she had to deal with issues like his violent outbursts. Now, again, these are all allegations. We don't know one way or the other. I just want to make that like abundantly clear. Gamble told Rauner that our relationship had issues both mentally and physically. He never understood me, unfortunately. Even the proposal, which he thought would save our relationship, was never the way I would have liked to have been proposed to. I never liked video games, but I sat through them because I loved him. And I mean, that's a sweet sentiment, to be fair, right? Like, you know, like my girlfriend, not a big fan of video games, but she cannot wait for Red Dead Redemption because she dislikes the world, you know? So, I mean, things like that, just, you know, they have a tendency to bring people together. I get that. I get that notion entirely. The whole story is increasingly uncomfortable. The more layers are peeled back, but it's demonstrative of how quickly the media can rush to a post and post an article based on an anecdote that clicks through well without doing much concerning the real humans behind the screen. Now, the thing with this that I find to be interesting has the fact that, you know, it's like they're calling it a post-Gamergate world. And ultimately, you know, looking at the situation, what we have here is a guy who, you know, maybe or maybe did not have what we consider violent outbursts on their relationship, right? We don't, I don't know. I mean, like that's such an interesting thing to come back to. Now, I'm not saying that she's lying. I'm not saying that that's not the case, but it's, again, one of those things where it's sad. The whole thing is sad to me. It is. It's just the whole thing is sad. The guy, you know, if he was dealing with those issues, definitely want to go and talk to somebody, get some help. If it's true, it sounds like she kind of put up with it for a while and then just it ended up falling apart. But then he wanted to express his love to her in a way that came from him, which, the way that he kind of explained it was like she just didn't like it. It was not the way she wanted to be proposed to. Because I think she wanted it done in the way that, the way her mind's eye had it versus what he did. And of course, the whole Gamergate dropping thing is just ridiculous because at no point in time does this have anything to do with ethics in video game journalism. I don't get that. I do not understand that. But of course, this is you gotta love it. You gotta love that the Mary Sue talks about, one-sided reporting and then goes, oh, we're in a post Gamergate world, but never once questions whether or not it should be, in fact, post Gamergate. Oh my good God. These people, man, they never really stop. They always got to get in that extra little jab. And I'll be honest with you guys. I don't fully blame them anymore. Like, I just don't fully blame them. I think self-awareness in a lot of aspects, in a lot of ways, is just kind of lost on people these days, myself included. And, you got to just kind of like, I think, be aware sometimes. And that's hard to do when it comes to the internet. It really, really is hard to do. But this next story here is one that it's a follow-up to yesterday's, where I talked about the Witcher 3 or the Witcher TV series casting for Siri, where they wanted to cast a young minority ethnic, or was it Black African minority ethnic BAME actress who was about 15 or 16, who could play at about 13 or 14, is what they wanted to do. And a lot of people are upset about this. In fact, so upset that they have vocalized their hatred on Twitter. I don't want to say hatred. That's not wrong word. They vocalized their criticism on Twitter, because I think when it comes to dealing with a character that's already been created and established, and then they do this kind of change up stuff, it doesn't usually end very well. But because here the showrunner for Netflix's Witcher quits Twitter after Siri casting backlash. Yeah, because that's fun. I get it though. I do understand it, but at the same time, it's like I think there is some stuff there with learning. Lauren S. Hisrich, the showrunner for Netflix's adaptation of The Witcher, has taken a hiatus from Twitter following criticisms of her casting criteria. According to Digital Spy, it was recently revealed that Netflix planned to hire a Black Asian, my mistake, and minority ethnic actress to play the role of Siri. Now, she says here, it's time to take a Twitter hiatus. The love here is amazing, and the hate is enlightening. Take a real-life trial of grasses, except I have to read less and write more, or we won't have a damn finale. I'll be back soon with more insight and more roach. Be nice to each other. Okay. Now, she's not pointing out specifically what it is. She says the hate is enlightening, which I think is going to be what most people kind of focus on. And I get that. At the same time, it's, I think people have a valid complaint. I do. I think they have a valid complaint. When they're like, they're not saying like, don't cast like black people in the show, but they're saying like, don't change a character's ethnic origins, from a series based in like, fantasy Poland, because you want to, tick a box sort of thing. And that's always a problem. Now, as fans of both the gaming series will know, Siri is depicted as a young white woman, but a leaked casting call asked for a 15 or 16-year-old BAM girl who can play down to 13 or 14. In a direct response to this leak, many fans took to Twitter to share their thoughts, and most believe casting a BAM actress is the wrong decision. Lauren here says, "You guys, I don't comment on casting. I never have, I never will, except one very special lady who I saw several options for today." This was a couple days ago. And then a guy here, Damiano, says, "If Siri is a BAME girl, I'm boycotting the show. Probably the whole fan base in Poland will. Extremely disrespectful. For them, it's not some fantasy Netflix Marvel show. It's a historic cultural based in Poland with Eastern European folklore. From the research, you should know this." And that's, I think one of the reasons why people were kind of cool with Henry Cavill taking on the role of Geralt. And this one here is pretty funny. Clunas Pisa says here, "How is this decision by Netflix anything but virtue signaling? Can anyone think of a way this would actually improve the story in any legitimate way?" And it's Thanos snapping on on Siri. Yeah, I mean, I don't want anyone to get hate on Twitter. I don't want anyone to get crap on Twitter. It's a problem. This is a problem when it comes to like a lot of people expressing an opinion is like, it can quickly become overwhelming, right? Like I get that. But people have a valid complaint in this regard. You know, it's not like they're not saying like, hey, don't, you know, they're saying like, look, there's history here. There's a character here. There's lineage here. This is what the series is. This is what fans want. You know, don't mess with this. And I think what we come to realize is when we see a bunch of these remakes or reboots of movies or old franchises that do this sort of thing, it never really tends to work out in the way that people like. I mean, look at Ghostbusters. I'm not trying to like invoke the name from 2 years ago, but that's a key example. It's a prime example. People out there were mad at Ghostbusters. They were like, not because it starred 4 women, but because it was a reboot instead of a continuation of the storyline. Nobody wanted it. The movie ended up doing terribly. And then the way that they responded to it was by attacking the fan base and saying that they're all basically misogynist man babies, instead of just going, well, maybe this particular movie wasn't up to par, wasn't up to snuff. And as a result of that, you know, we didn't get a sequel to that specific film. However, I have heard rumors that they are working on something. And my working theory for that is they're going to be developing, I think they're going to be developing a film based off of one of the IDW comics, which is where like Ghostbusters 2016 ends up going into an alternate reality that ends up going into Ghostbusters 1984 or Ghostbusters Prime and meets some of the Ghostbusters there. And then like, that's how they connect it. That's a comic. I'm not kidding you. That's a comic. And that's a thing. But anyway, hopefully they'll get it all sorted out, and hopefully it won't turn into this big, you know, online witch hunt type shit, but it's going to, you know how it is. A lot of these websites are going to run with it like, oh, it's racism. It's just racism, right? They're going to yell at them about that. And it's like, no, people are just expressing their discontent, and that's it, you know? And it's like, I'm sure there's some terrible comments out there. Let's be fair. This is the internet, and the internet has anonymity. And as a result of that, nothing good can really come from it. People say some pretty mean stuff, but I think that's ultimately you know, where it's at. And I hope that, I hope the show is good. I want to see it. Some people are now more interested because of the dumpster fire aspect. But I hope that it's true. I hope that it's true to the show. Or true to the series. I hope that they do it right, because these kind of adaptations are something people, they want, but they want it done in the right way. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting it done in the way that it was originally conceived. When somebody comes in and just really mucks it up, you know, it doesn't benefit anybody. It just doesn't. It just causes more problems, and people just want to kind of be jerks about it. And anyway, this one's a fun one here, because I did not realize this was going to be happening, especially so damn soon. But apparently Gawker is getting ready for a comeback. Yeah, Gawker is coming back. This ought to be fun, right? But this has nothing to do with the old Gawker, apparently. Now, Gawker is poised to make a comeback next year, according to publishing reports. The gossip site, which was sued into bankruptcy 2 years ago by Peter Thiel. Well, I love that they say that they don't mention Hulk Hogan as being the person behind the lawsuit, even though he's on the thumbnail for the article. They go to Peter Thiel because it's just, you know, he's the billionaire who wanted to take down Gawker. Now, in a memo obtained by Variety, Goldberg, this is Brian Goldberg, the founder of Bustle Digital Media, is outlining his plans for bringing back the blog in the first half of 2019. He says here, we won't recreate Gawker exactly as it was. We will build upon Gawker's legacy and triumphs. Okay. And learn from its missteps. In so doing, we aim to create something new, vibrant, highly relevant, and worth visiting daily. Now, I understand that. I get that. You want to rebrand. I understand that. You know, I understand that entirely. You want to rebrand, you want to do that, and maybe they can. If they're going to learn from their missteps, which is a lot of problems, because even under Univision, the other Gawker sites, they're a little bit better. They're a little bit better in regards to how they handle some stuff, but they're still pretty bad. Now, Goldberg said he hired Amanda Hale, the former chief revenue officer for The Outline, to be as Gawker's new publisher. No word yet on editorial hires or what will become of Gawker's archive of some 200,000 articles, which were acquired through bankruptcy court. Those articles should probably just stay in that archive. Like, that is probably where things should be. If you're going to do this rebrand, do a rebrand entirely, not like a soft rebrand or a soft reboot. Do an actual rebrand and then just leave them behind. I think that's probably for the best. So let's see here. A Bustle spokesperson confirmed Hale had been hired as the first Gawker employee, where she will lead the site in anticipation for an early 2019 launch. She will be responsible for building the sales and marketing teams, developing the overall strategy for the brand. Her first project will be to solidify a plan to ensure the Gawker archives have a safe and permanent home. Get rid of the archives. You don't need the archives. Why would you buy them for the archives? I don't understand that. I mean, it hasn't published anything in 2 years since it was taken down, right? Like we know about this. The archives, I mean, I guess it's like a treasure trove of shit. Is it just because like you're spending all the money, you might as well you have the 200,000 articles, you might as well host them somewhere so that you can still run ads on them? I mean, a lot of those articles are pretty bad. A lot of those articles are pretty terrible. So it's like, why would you want that? Why would you want to bring back Sam Biddle in any form? You know? And it's amazing to me. It's just amazing to me. But we'll have to wait and see what happens with it. Gawker making a comeback I think is going to be heavily scrutinized. And we'll have to see if they're actually going to try to make anything better, be different, or if it's just going to be more of the same. And I hope that they learn, like, I hope that they've learned from what happened here. Right. I hope that they learn everything. We'll have to wait and see, though. But finally, because this is kind of a big episode, I'll fully admit, but this is one I just want to get through real quick. Paul McCartney describes group masturbation session at John Lennon's house. I had to talk about this. This is a fucked up story. It's not a fucked up story. It's an interesting story. Not something I expected to ever see a headline for. Like, okay, sure. You know what? 60s, man. Crazy time. Beatles are into some crazy shit. But you guys got to hear this, though. Talking about coming together, pun intended, Paul McCartney provided a masterclass in TMI Foo in a profile published on Tuesday, detailing a group masturbation session that he partook in at the homes of Beatles bandmate John Lennon. As McCartney explained, it was just a group of us, and instead of getting roaring drunk and partying, I don't even know if we were staying over or anything. We were just all in these chairs, the lights were out, somebody started masturbating, so we all did. The session was fueled, according to Paul McCartney, by calling out actresses' names. They were calling out Bridget Bardot, and then everyone would thrash a bit more. So they're just like, it'd be like in this thing, it'd be like Scarlett Johansson, Jennifer Lawrence, Zazie Beetz, it's just whatever hot actress is out there right now. I don't know. And then people just like, they just, fap, that sort of thing. I guess I get it. And then John Lennon here yelled out Winston Churchill, and I'm pretty sure that made Ringo Starr orgasm immediately. Now McCartney said that the collective self-pleasuring happened just once or twice, and says it wasn't a big thing. Finishing up here, but it's just the kind of thing you don't think much of. It was a group. Yeah, it was raunchy when you think about it. There's so many things like that from when you're a kid that you look back on and you're like, did we do that? But it was good, harmless fun. It didn't hurt anybody, not even Bridget Bardot. Which is very true. Which is very true. Yeah. I just, I get it. They were young. They were a young pop band, and it was a much, the 60s were a lot more liberating time sexually. They just, I guess I get it. I've never done it, but I'm trying to put myself in that position to see. Sure. I mean, it wasn't like they sat there with the lights on, looking heavily, intently in each other's eyes. Like George Harrison was just staring down Paul McCartney like, you're mine. Nothing like that happened. So that's good. I just came across that story. I wanted to share it with you guys. Holy crap. That's a thing. But that wraps up today's episode of the show. And that wraps up everything. If you guys haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you've made it this far, type Paul into the chat so I know you guys made it this far. And I'll talk to you guys tomorrow for another episode. Have yourself a great day, and peace out.